In the past, with potential fraud, there's a suite of other tests, including tests for compounds such as leptospirin, which is a marker that's unique to the nectar of Leptospirnum scoparium. We can trace then the honey back to its botanical origin, the plant that it came from.
So it's one of these molecules, leptospirin, is inside of the flower, which is only in New Zealand, which only blooms and is available for pollination for 12 days of the year. So it's a lot of very particulars.
When you pick up a jar of Manuka honey, the markers can be confusing. So how do you know that it's the real deal?
So in some cases they're labelling for the concentration of a compound, so MgO 300 would indicate 300 milligrams of methyl glyoxal in that particular pot of honey per kilogram, to NPA, which is non-peroxide activity. Now that's related to the methyl glyoxal concentration, but it's a more direct measure of the antimicrobial activity of the honey. Other marks, such as UMF, a quality mark, that if you can see a particular stamp on a product that it's been tested and assured to a certain standard, so that's different to actually labelling it with the concentration of a particular compound.
Another factor that's driving up the price is the use of Manuka honey in health and beauty products. Its antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties are said to soothe and nourish the skin, and it's also said to help with blemishes and acne. But is that really the case?
There's been a number of studies that have tried to determine the health benefits of Manuka honey, and there are some very positive results. And certainly in terms of antimicrobial activity, we can show that Manuka honey has antimicrobial activity in the laboratory. Those clinical trials over a long period of time have not been undertaken as of yet, but there are lots of reports that indicate that Manuka honey has benefits, but as yet unproven.
It is a commercial lab, Smikes, but they still have to abide by, this lab is actually still published in scientific journals and looked at components of in peer-reviewed journals. So, it's always important to be skeptical, but I think it's actually been shown in other labs too that this honey does have these antimicrobial peptides or antimicrobial properties, so it's not specific just out of one lab. The lab that actually did the analysis in the paper that we're talking about was not this lab. It was a totally different lab who's not affiliated with the honey company. Well, we're talking about this particular kind of honey right now, which I think is pretty cool. Welcome on in.
So the jury's still out on Manuka's medicinal properties, but that hasn't stopped its popularity, and Manuka honey is serious business. The prices and demand for the honey are so high that the New Zealand police have received hundreds of reports of beehives or honey being stolen, and even reports of bees being poisoned. So if you do manage to get your hands on a jar, does it actually taste different from normal honey?
Your uncle's a beekeeper. Very cool. So this is a New Zealand brand of honey that is very high with antimicrobial properties, but also it turns out has other factors in it too that make it all the more desirable.
Oh my god, that is delicious. The flavor's really strong.
So yogurt, have you tried it? They were saying $100 per some 10 grams or something like that, some very, very small amount.
It's very very thick compared to normal honey.
It's got a kind of chestnutty flavour. It's not as sweet
honey
as
that you have so much
honey.
more liquid. Yeah, exactly. So I've always heard that good honey, the clearer it is, and the more when you pull it up and just comes down, but it has to be clear. I've heard that, the acai honey. That's what I've always heard is the really good stuff. I'm not really a honey connoisseur. I like a lot of different kinds of honey. Yeah, the consistency looks very, very different. I haven't tried it either, yogurt.
It's really smooth.
The clover stuff is great, Smikes, and a nice tea.
The taste is pretty similar to what I'm used to. The texture is really interesting. It's very, very thick, almost creamy.
Is Manuka honey really worth 100 times more than other honey? That's for you to judge. But what's for certain is that no other honey in the world is so rare and unique that it needs to pass by a lab before being sold.
Yeah, of course, Arcanite. Well, thank you for raiding on over. I want to see this game, my friend. I want to see you play the game. I want to see this game. Thank you for the raid. Buy local cinnamon and honey from apiary near my parents, and it's delicious. That sounds amazing, yogurt. Let me show you what the component is on this honey. That's like the really, really big deal. So they find this particular compound. Hi, Sir Yogi One. Welcome in. Makuta is from tea tree, not just found in New Zealand, but also Australian, also stores in Australia. Welcome in, Sir Yogi One. How are you doing, my friend? So they found this particular kind of honey. Again, the New Zealand honeydew honey, and compared it to the Makuta honey, and they were analyzing what the differences are between the two, and what, because this one is also now an up-and-coming honey, also found in New Zealand, and they wanted to give it the amino acid profile in the mass spectrometer. And what they found is there's actually a very unique compound. This one, it's called sakurenekin. It is an antioxidant that's inside of this honey. It's the only honey that's been profiled to date that has this antioxidant. And so one research hypothesis is that there's
Belind, Lita, use your words.
Which ones, Mikes? I'm getting to that. I'm getting to it. But thank you. I thought it was this word of this chemical structure because I'm like, I don't even know how to say that word. So, antioxidants help prevent aging in a experimental setting. There are free radicals, which mean these uncharged, like electrons that are thrown from particular molecules, and it can cause DNA damage. There's these free radicals all the time in your body being released. They are released from aging. They're released from certain exercises. Metabolism can release them. So there's been a lot of studies to analyze the effects of these free radicals and oxidants on the aging process. And then there's a second component of that now is antioxidants. How can you prevent how can you prevent the oxidation inside the body? Meaning, how can you prevent the aging process by these little molecules? There's a few tests you can do to see how pure your honey is. Oh, what are those? The runnier or clear the honey, the more processed it is. I see, Sir Yogi One. So the thick that we saw is a good sign? Oxidation like rust. Let me pull up the video, Master Smikes. I got the video. Because that's important to do. Hold on, where is it? And this is the controversial bit as well. Because it's questioned whether or not it actually helps. Hi, Rin and Lucy. Welcome in, Rin. How are you doing today? We're talking about honey. This particular kind of honey, the New Zealand clover honey compared to Makuta honey. They had a unique antioxidant identified in it, which is to help with the aging process. So we're going to talk about if it's at all helpful. Are the antioxidants helpful, and what the antioxidants actually are.